You see, Sergeant Benton, the whole point is that... Doctor, what a very time... You're wrong, Sergeant Benton. That is the oldest trick in the book.
I can't believe you fell for the oldest trick in the book. What a goof. What's with you, man? Come on.
Okay.
Welcome, lab assistants, wacky priests, and psychotic Greek gods, to the 232nd episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 15th of November, 2017, and featuring The Time Monster, written by Robert Sloman and starring John Pertwee as the Doctor, Katie Manning as Joe Grant, Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier, and our final episode featuring Roger Delgado as the Master. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
I have a wireless mouse now.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Not a cyborg! Not a cyborg!
Aaron Romeo Moonberg.
I hope Matt has plenty of batteries.
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
I have plenty of batteries.
And Thomas Fireheart.
I am now 27 as of Sunday.
Happy birthday.
Birthday.
If I'd known that, I would have put you in the birthdays list.
Yeah.
But...
And by the way, it's an optic mouse and it's supposed to last about 18 months before the first battery change.
Oh, good.
and by the way, Tim, I've been biting this back. That's what she said.
Yeah. I was gonna say a lot of wireless mouses are also USB chargeable. I know mine is.
Mine's not, but I swear I only have to put one battery in it.
Yeah, I only have like one
every,
AA that I need
6
in
months
it.
or so.
Logitech?
It is a Logitech, yes.
Yes, excellent. I have a Logitech too.
I have a Logitech.
Look at the bottom of your mouse. What's the model number?
M310.
Same exact mouse I have, Matt.
So when I finally replace the battery, it'll last 6 months. Okay.
Let me tell you the problem with it.
Oh.
Every now and then, the mouse will completely depower for no reason. You have to turn it off, turn it back on to get it to work, and it's happened to me in mid-game more than once.
Haven't had an issue yet, and I've had it for like better part of a week now.
Yeah, well, better part of a week. I think that started happening after the first couple of months. Either way,
We'll see.
I have one of Logitech's.
either that or it's
mouses.
just my mouse and it's a fucking defect. So
Knowing Logitech, there's like 1 in 10 that'll suddenly defect.
and I always get it.
Oh, I
Welcome
actually get
to
the
the
controller that
Logitech
does that, so
podcast.
hopefully I won't get the mouse that does that. Anywho.
Because yes, you hear me swear in Lotro, it means my mouse shut off on me again. God damn it! Yeah.
So excited.
All right. So on tonight's show, we have the news, and we're going to probably spend a little bit on the news, at least on one particular article, because there was a big news that was released in the past week. I think our Geek Talk section is rather empty. Oh, wait. Tim did have something he wanted to talk about in there, so we'll let him talk about that.
Let me talk about that, and if we have time, I have a couple of quick things to talk about.
I didn't have anything to talk about.
Or not Tim, Thomas.
Thomas?
Had something to
Oh,
talk
no,
about.
Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I had filed it under T. The problem is we have two T's.
Oh,
And it accessed the wrong folder.
that's cool.
Then we've got my rant of the week, and this is something that came up to me recently, and I feel the need to talk about it. Our 5-minute challenge, which is probably going to be me tonight.
It's down to
And-
you, yeah.
If you
Then
think
our-
you can handle it, sure.
I think I can handle it. I may forget a couple of things. I mean, I watched
He's
it
cognitive.
yesterday, and I watched 4 out of the 6 episodes today, so I should be okay.
Dense motherfucker.
And then, of course, our episode review, our final thoughts, and ratings. So let's get right down to the brass tacks and right to birthdays. And we've got 2 birthdays this week, 2 people of note. The first one on the 10th of November is Neil Gaiman, writer. And if you don't know who Neil Gaiman is, where have you been?
What rock have you crawled out of under?
I mean, he wrote 2 Doctor Who episodes, and that's on top of everything he's done in his own thing. He was the writer behind Sandman. He was the writer. He had a whole bunch of friggin' books.
He had a whole bunch of comic books.
Yeah.
He's had a whole bunch of novels. He's had a whole bunch of them being turned into TV shows.
Is there any medium he hasn't written in?
Movies, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember him ever doing a movie.
I kind of
maybe
wish
one.
I kind of wish either Titan or Big Finish would manage to raise the funds to get him to write a Time War story, because I feel like he could do something more unconventional than what they've been doing thus far.
We also love Neil here on the podcast because he lives not too far away from 3 of us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he lives just like about an hour and a half drive northwest of here.
Has GeekCon ever tried to get him, or is he too expensive?
We've tried. The thing is, he really doesn't like to do conventions. He's one of these guys that just pretty much gives a flat no.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Elaine Cunningham said that Ari Salvatore doesn't like to do conventions because if Salvatore is out doing conventions, they're not at home writing.
The only time he does conventions is if friends of his are going to be at that convention.
And they talk him into it.
I imagine the years of death threats for killing Chewbacca kind of soured him on fan interaction too.
Was that Gaiman?
No, Salvatore.
Salvatore, yeah. Of course, it doesn't matter now. It's now non-canon.
The moon does not drop on Chewbacca anymore.
I don't know if they brought back Mara Jade or anything, but
not officially yet.
Not that I've seen in any of the canonical works.
I mean, Luke hasn't actually had dialogue in the new canon yet. So there's still hope.
Maybe he's gay.
Looking for a new hope, Bill? Anyway, we're off topic. Anyway, so Neil Gaiman turned 57. Neil has not been doing any TV work recently, working on personal projects like his recent book on retelling Norse mythology. Unironically called Norse Mythology. I really would thought Neil Gaiman would have had a better title than that, but I guess they were all shot down by his
editor,
by his publisher.
I still haven't finished American Gods.
I have a whole bunch of stuff of his I haven't finished, but that's me. I've got a whole bunch of to-do stuff anyway.
I need to collect the rest of Sandman. Anywho.
So, and then yesterday was the birthday of Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, and if you don't know who he is, where the hell have you been?
Once again, which rock?
Only the 8th Doctor.
You don't know who he is. Why are you listening to us?
He turned 58. Other than Big Finish, Paul's been on TV a lot over the last year. He's continued his ongoing narration role on Eden, as well as playing John Gaskill on Holby City. So happy birthday, Paul, and happy birthday, Neil.
And I just noticed my birthday falls directly between both of those.
Hey, I've had birthdays. I think I looked up whose birthday's on mine, and I had a jaw drop on a few names in there.
I shared my birthday with Alice Cooper.
There you go.
And George Romero. Anyway.
Of which I have more respect for Alice Cooper, but that's personally just because of pretty much...
He doesn't respect you, Matt.
No.
Keaton.
No, I meant between Alice Cooper and George Romero, because the zombie horror thing is not really my thing, but Alice Cooper pretty much...
George Romero tried getting out of it, but people kept dragging him back in.
Yeah, I know, but Alice Cooper pretty much pioneered a whole section of rock and roll, and You got to respect the man for that. Anyway, from birthdays, we go to deaths, of which, unfortunately, there's a couple. Aaron?
All right, let me just sit up here. Okay. Okay, all right. So, unfortunately, we have lost Scott Fredericks, age of 74. So, unfortunately, he did die a little bit younger than what we usually say is the good run. Alright, so Scott Fredericks appeared in 2 Doctor Who stories. He played Boaz in the 3rd Doctor story, Day of the Daleks, and played Maximilian Stahl in the 4th Doctor story, Image of Fendel. I've seen that one. It's really super creepy. And
I can't remember. Was that Leela or Sarah Jane?
Leela, I think. It may have been Sarah Jane. It's the one with the lady archaeologist who's taken over by the giant maggot thing.
Yeah, I just can't remember because it's either it's right before when Sarah leaves, or shortly after Leela joins.
It's a Leela story.
Okay.
I was thinking Leela because I remember seeing it in lists right around Fang Rock, but I haven't watched the serial myself, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, I know
very
Fang
dark.
Rock was Leela, but
What was the name of the episode?
Dark. The Image of Fendel.
Image of the
Fendel.
And it's one of those where the world is going to end and the Doctor can do nothing to stop it.
And it is a Leela episode. She's got an action figure with the weird slug thing.
Yeah, like I said, I just personally did not remember.
It's got that rapey body horror type thing to it. It's just like, ugh, gross.
No, I just personally didn't remember because I haven't seen that since the 80s. So it's in that mental filing era of early to mid Tom Baker, but I couldn't remember which side of Deadly Assassin it was on.
Yeah, but it is a good story though, very creepy, like I said. So yes, and he also has played on Blake 7 as Carnell in the episode titled Weapon.
Doesn't tell me much.
He's also been on Zed.
That was the one thing
Triangle.
about Blake 7. All of their titles were about one word.
So, yep.
Well, they should have done the 1 word for season 1, 2 words for season 2, 3 words for season 3 gimmick.
Yeah, the final episode of Blake 7 is simply titled Blake.
Why is this page for Doctor Who News so huge? It's huge.
Check the URL if it has an M dot in it. It might be the mobile version that's happened to us before.
It does. M dot. So mobile. That's why it's so big.
Just delete the M dot and it should be normal.
Jeez, it's hurting my eyes. The man's nose is just like taking up my entire screen.
Sorry about that. Some of these times I get this news on my phone. So
well, now his picture's in black and white, but still. All right, so moving on to someone who did have a nice long run, Keith Barron, who passed away at the age of 83. He played the character Stryker, one of the Eternals in the 1983 5th Doctor story Enlightenment. He is also best known for playing David Pierce in the 1980s Yorkshire television sitcom Duty Free. So, let me see if he's done any other things for Doctor Who. He was asked at short notice to take on the role. It was originally planned that Peter Sallis would do that, but he had to drop it. Yeah, and then Keith took over. Alright, and he's also been in Haggard, Take Me Home, Room at the Bottom, Late Expectations, The Good Guys All Night Long, Take Me, NCS Manhunt, and Casualty. I don't see any Z cars on here, though.
Hey,
you missed the Z cars. Oh my.
That never happens.
But he's still on Casualty, so it's one of the two.
So, and he was married and he has a son and everything who is also an actor, James. So it looks like he lived a pretty good life, you know? He had plenty of work, or a decent amount of work anyway. More than some people have had. So, and yeah. Cool. Pretty good. I mean, it's not good that they died, but everyone has to go. At least they left a decent legacy.
Mhm.
All right. So from deaths, we go to episode news, and we've got a couple of pieces of future episode news. Tim?
Yep. Bradley Walsh. Now, this is according to Codebox, that season 11 starts filming soon. Bradley Walsh is on a promotional tour for his new album, but he talked with Sunday Brunch that I'm in Doctor Who, and that starts next week sometime.
Hello?
And his character's name is Graham.
Yeah. I didn't want to make a separate article for that, and it's only a partial name. I mean, all we know is it's Graham.
I think we got first.
No, because
Four companions or whatever it was.
Either way, all we know is that it's Graham. I mean, I would have thought it would be interesting, you know, for Doctor Who to have Graham Norton as a companion and make him play Graham Norton.
I was going to say Graham, and then he has a brother named Harper.
Ash.
Just the expression on Graham Norton's face getting off the TARDIS would be just absolutely what the hell. So there we know filming is going to start in season 11 either this week or next week, which means it's underway. Things are taking off.
Yep. The wheels are in their motion.
Mm-hmm.
Also, some news about Twice Upon a Time, the upcoming Christmas special. There will be a cinema showing in Australia. Presented by BBC Worldwide Australia and New Zealand in Sharm Hill Film.
I read that as alternate universe, and I'm wondering, is Australia an alternate universe?
Well, I mean, I
That's
have
why
had
I- that's
people
why I
joke that
usually
we're
put-
Narnia, so...
That's why I usually put Oz, because everybody knows if I say Oz, I mean Australia. But I say AU, and then suddenly it's like alternate universe. Fuck, Bill.
It will be shown in movie theaters on Boxing Day.
The day after Christmas, for you Philistines that don't know.
AKA the majority of Americans.
Yeah, it's not really a thing here, but still.
You mentioned Boxing Day, and I just think of kangaroos with boxing gloves.
Oh, God.
That is kind of what I think of it too.
The event will also feature 2 bonus pieces taking audiences behind the scenes to the filming of the holiday special. And it will be a celebration of the 10 years of Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat.
That's...
Also,
oh, never mind. Okay.
Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time. The episode will be available on ABC iView immediately after the UK broadcast, and it will air on ABC at 7:30 p.m. December 26th. Straight afterwards, fans can join Rove and his guests for a special regeneration episode of Whovians, 8:30 p.m. on ABC Comedy. That sounds very cool.
By the way, for the majority of the people here that have no idea why it's called Boxing Day in Britain, the day after Christmas is the first regular business day after Christmas, and it's the day that people would give gift boxes to local tradesmen that they do business with.
Oh.
So these would be, boxes of, cash or small gifts or something to the local tradesmen. So that became known as Boxing Day.
Oh.
So now you know.
Or more
That means
commonly
half the
these
battle.
days, Returns Day.
That's a completely different thing. Also, it's known as the first day of the after Christmas sales because, yeah.
Ready to push product. Get out.
All right, so now we go to our alumni news, and we've got a little past and future
Yep.
news.
So to start with our past Doctors, we have Sylvester McCoy, the 7th Doctor, who Doctor Who News tells us will be joining the cast of the CBeebies series Sarah and Duck to launch new episodes of the animated preschool favorite show.
I can see Sylvester McCoy.
Is the character name there? I don't see it.
No, I don't. I think it's just a guest star.
Guest stars in the
he's playing a comet.
Yeah, Comet's coming. So he's playing a comet.
A slightly scatty celestial object who won't be seen again for many years.
Okay, so it's a one-off appearance then.
Mm-hmm.
More or less. Unless they need a comet for something else later.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, the comet then runs into his friends Venus and Mars, but doesn't remember them. So essentially, he's playing something along the lines of Halley's Comet. And it's been so long since I've been this way.
Or,
I have no idea who you are.
It could be, a Time Lord weapon that returns every so ever many years, but...
Gonna have to smack you, Bill.
I thought that's what that was.
It's an alien spaceship that's caught in an unusual orbit that keeps coming around.
Carved in the shape of a statue.
I was thinking more like a boomerang, but...
That would be if it was Australian Who.
All right, moving on to our upcoming Doctor. We have...
And this is the news, by the way, I think we're going to spend a little time on.
Yes, and there's 3 links I put in there, or 2 additional links I put in there that are kind of related to and building off of this one. But the BBC has released the first official image of Jodie Whittaker's outfit as the 13th Doctor.
Oh, yes, that image.
Along with it is the first image of her version of the TARDIS. Or it's in the same image, I should say, because I didn't say that very clearly.
TARDIS doesn't look so bad. I think it's a little less blue, but that could also be the lighting.
Could be the lighting. Also, I like the fact they got rid of that dorky star.
If you compare
the little circle that's on the other side,
the weird star and circle thing that's been on the 11th Doctors.
That's the
and 12.
That's on the right panel across from the logo. That's the St. John's ambulance patch.
Yeah, I don't know why they suddenly added it. It doesn't quite work for me.
It was in the Doctor Who movies. If you've seen the movies.
Well, I've seen the movies, yeah. So that makes it even weirder.
It was canonically on blue police boxes in the period. But yeah, it's been appearing on and off. Moffat, I think, was a big fan of the Peter Cushing movies.
There is one thing about that TARDIS that purists are kind of pissed off about, and if you compare it to Peter Capaldi's TARDIS and the other image, you might be able to tell. The handle on the pull to open box
is on the wrong side.
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I believe Peter's is on both sides.
No, since they've been opening that little panel, and I think that's only really been in the new series.
Mm-hmm.
It's always opened from the inside out. So now it's opening the other way, and I'm not sure why that is. Because it makes no sense if you're a policeman using that particular device why you would not want it to be facing the door.
Right. Now, you can't really tell because the two other examples are both with a light background and black text. It has had a black background and white text before. I just don't remember which version of the TARDIS did.
That sign keeps changing itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed itself in the course of the classic series.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah. I think that was a classic one that had the black with the white. So
yep, and there was a classic one that had white and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not surprised if New Who did it a black and white a couple times too.
Similarly, the police public call box sign's color keeps changing pretty much every TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm curious.
I
noticed
it's been blue.
Mhm.
It's been tinted glass a couple of times.
I noticed the windows don't seem to have that design that is usually
that T-shape.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, T-shape and
Although
the tinted
that
glass.
might be the lighting, or like, yeah.
Might be the lighting.
Could be.
Okay.
Also, it's very much a digital background by the looks of it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's equally
really hard to
possible
tell.
that these mistakes could have been in the artist's rendering for the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Moving from the TARDIS to the main feature, we have Jodie Whittaker's outfit itself.
The outfit. I don't like it. Well, I like parts of it.
It seems kind of lacking something. Like it's not all there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's meant to be capris or high waters.
That I don't mind, although I would have preferred her to have higher boots, but that's me. I don't mind the coat, and I don't mind the trousers, but everything else above the waist, I don't like.
It just...
The suspenders I could care less about. The shirt is meh.
The shirt, I mean...
The suspenders for me are a little too much.
Yes, that's my problem.
Yeah.
The suspenders and the shirt both scream 70s, early 80s to me.
And for since we gave a comment to American fans earlier, I'll make a comment to British fans now. For us, what you call, I believe, braces are suspenders, and we're not referring to what Americans call garters. Just to make that clear.
Just to be perfectly clear.
Yeah. I think they've gotten. I think that reference has gotten a double word now by England standards. I could be wrong. Of course, usually these are actually braces because if you look at them, they're fixed attached to actual loops on the pants, whereas suspenders actually kind of clip onto the pants.
Yeah.
But either way, the yellow braces are just absolutely.
It's a little bright, yeah.
It's an ugly look. I could have stood red. Red would have been fine. I prefer blue or black. And that shirt just doesn't work with the rest of the ensemble.
No.
Like I think the first thing I said when I saw this outfit was just like, all she's missing is like a headband, and she'd look like someone who never got over the hippie movement.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Mork and Mindy, if anybody here remembers Mork from Mork.
Yeah.
I've
seen photoshopped pictures of that.
And that was rainbow suspenders on I think it was a red and black shirt.
It was like a navy shirt with stripes that went across the chest that were varying colors.
Mm-hmm. But either way, it doesn't feel Doctor Who-ish to me.
I'd be okay if the pants were either the boots were longer or the pants were longer. That's what really kind of drives me nuts.
Yeah, the rest of it is like, but then the pants is just like, what? Either the shirt needs to change or the pants needs to change. One of the two, I think.
I don't mind the shirt. I like the shirt. Reminds me of Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
again. That's the '80s vibe, which I'm not.
I'm okay with the shirt. I don't think it goes with those pants and those suspenders. It just seems really off.
I would have preferred a blouse. Not necessarily a full dressy blouse, but just a a nice cloth blouse.
I will
Don't
say
need a tie, but
I will say it does look rather informal for a doctor's shirt.
yes,
That too.
That's my problem.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not formal enough to label this person the doctor.
So, what was Tim trying to say before we all talked
Piecemeal.
over him?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that a lot of times I see a new costume or new outfit in a still picture that I don't like, but then when I see it in actual motion, it's okay. So I'm gonna hold off my final judgment on this. But I was just saying that to me this looks watered down a bit. Like, say what you want about Colin Baker, at least his outfit was full-bodied, you know?
Yeah.
And I do have the theory that this may be this may be a worn for part of the maybe for the first story, and then the outfit may change.
That's a possibility too.
It might be I'm a woman now. I guess I should kind of dress like a woman. Never done this before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have seen the comment of it mentioned. This looks like someone who's dressed as a man for hundreds of years, all of a sudden trying to figure out what women dress like.
I'm kind of hoping that if they do plan on changing this, as she gets more used to being her, she starts to borrow a little bit from Romana's style.
Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, because
Romana
too.
Romana too, yeah.
Segue. Bill, that's a good segue to the next image.
It is? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, Romana 2's, her coat was kind of pinkish, but we've got hints that this coat may not actually be brown.
Yeah, apparently the lighting is off on this, because if we go to a tweet conversation with Edward Russell, who is the Doctor Who brand manager, he mentions that the coat is not actually the white or beige that image would appear, but it's actually, he says, a cross between sky blue and lilac. So a Twitter user actually kind of photoshopped a mock-up of what that sounds like, and Russell more or less confirmed that that's, as far as he can remember, what it actually looks like.
Actually, what he did was he took the picture into Photoshop and changed the lighting filter.
Ah, okay. So
he changed it from sunrise to sunset, and that put the picture into a truer color bit.
Yes, it's still not brown.
I looked this up on the original Twitter post.
Okay.
They were actually discussing what they did, and they said change the lighting filter from sunrise to sunset.
Gotcha.
It still doesn't look brown, but
it does.
It sounds like that's something from the newer Photoshops, because I've never heard of those.
I've never heard of it either.
Because it still looks whitey-white.
It looks kind of a lavenderish blue.
Are you looking at the 1 2/3 of the way down the
one that the Tafford Anderson guy asked? May I ask if this is roughly how it looks? It's still a white jacket.
If you go back and forth between the two, the one higher up looks browner, a lot more warm.
It looks a little more
color.
Tan, yeah.
It looks sandy.
Yeah,
whereas this looks like start to see the blue. Yeah, it looks blue gray, to be honest.
Blue gray, yeah.
What I would call it.
Well, and it's the reason why they do those filters is that they're more uniting. They bring the picture together, even if it throws the colors off. So, if you look at the 1 2/3 of the way down, she kind of pops a little bit more in front of the TARDIS as if she's not really there.
Which she actually isn't, because that's a digital background. But anyway.
I know, but you want to make it look like she's there and unite the image. That's why you throw the orange filter over the top or the light brown filter.
Filters.
To make it seem as though she's under the same sky as the fake grass.
The fake grass in the background,
the grass looks painted, so that doesn't help.
Nope.
That's because it's apple grass. I don't know. But either way,
grass is always greener.
This outfit doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel
it feels really rushed. I'm hoping they change it over
The
time.
TARDIS will be secretly beige.
They actually make that joke.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, later in the article, I think. Is it in the article?
Yes, I think it is.
It's where I just.
Oh
read
yeah,
it from.
it's in the last paragraph. Now, if someone can just confirm to us that this means the TARDIS is now secretly beige, we'll have our whole ensemble ready for Christmas Day. And by the way, the reason this was being asked was for cosplay purposes, I believe.
Yes.
Mm.
Before everybody went out and bought sandy
Jackets.
sandy coat fabric, they wanted to make sure that people knew it's actually kind of a blue.
Kind of a sort of grayish blue, yeah. Almost a sky blue. Like a faded sky blue.
Yeah, they said it was kind of a sky blue meets lilac, but
I'll just come out and say it. Sunset or sunrise are not good times to get the actual hue of something.
yeah.
That too.
Mm.
Well, they're trying to go for pseudo realism, I think.
Yeah, it's good for the effect of, hey,
Mhm.
Look at this. It's kind of dramatic, but it's not good for I actually want to replicate it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Anywho.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, I had to, when I first saw this picture posted, my immediate gut reaction was don't like it. But I didn't want to just say that and leave it there. I had to quantify why I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's like, why do I not like this?
Mhm.
It feels incomplete. It feels rushed. Maybe, hopefully, it'll grow over the episodes, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Especially for the Doctor.
Yeah, especially for the Doctor. This doesn't feel quite right.
Actually, and seeing that, I kind of hope that Bill is there at the regeneration, because it would be nice to have a legit human woman like criticizing the Doctor.
The Doctor's get up. Because you cut off.
I don't know if Bill was criticizing the Doctor's dress sense in there. I wouldn't think this would have actually have become a costume.
Right. Well, I mean, an
Huh?
episode, and then the Doctor kind of realizes, hey, this doesn't work.
Because remember, there's going to be a new female companion. Because remember, there's a whole tree.
What the hell?
Basically, next season. The thing is, and the scary part is, got to remember that next season is going to be plot line. They're going, Arrow style with the story. So this may wind up being the costume for the entire next season, because it's one big storyline. And that means that the Doctor may not have time to change clothes. But hopefully that means by season 12, there's an outfit change. Because I wouldn't want this to be permanent. I really wouldn't. It looks incomplete, too informal, is I guess what it comes out as in my mind.
Yeah.
Not that the Doctor's completely formal, but he's kind of semi-professional.
Yeah. Upper class clothing, which generally is at least business casual.
Yeah.
But usually a bit more.
And T-shirts are generally not business casual.
Actually, you were around for this, Randy. The backlash about the leather jacket.
Series.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking Charles Dickens looks at him and goes, "You look like a navvy." And he's just like, "What's wrong with this jumper?" And it's,
then Captain Jack criticized it.
Yep. Called him U-boat captain or something. Yeah, it was... It was... and, it was really an attempt at ultra-modern, lower grade. But, like I said, I've always kind of considered Eccleston to be the midlife crisis Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to, David Tennant, and he's suit and tie. Of running the Doctor does, I can excuse that. Then you have Matt Smith, and you're stepping back into the weed suit, bow tie. It's the one I described as the first time I saw our guy. And yeah, it was a step back a couple decades in style, but it still felt like the Doctor. And then you have Capaldi. Capaldi had a mix, but his typical outfit was in a suit without a tie, a black suit, white dress shirt, and a little bit of a Victorian to Edwardian flair to it.
And frequently on and off either a hoodie or a jacket that was of dark color either way.
When he was wearing more modern, yes. He did that mostly in Series 8 and then kind of stepped into what they're...
I'm about to kill Discord.
So masculine because of that damn frickin' pose he made in that outfit.
In the name of the TARDIS, I will punish you.
Yeah.
I'm about to kill Discord, by the way. It keeps cutting you guys off like every other minute.
I'm sorry.
But I mean, you go back. Sylvester McCoy still had a shirt, tie, jacket, though he had that obnoxious jumper. Colin Baker had that freaking horrific suit, but it was still a formal suit with a tie. And of course, Peter Davison had the cricketer's outfit, which was Edwardian, but still, jacket, shirt, vest, pants. And then the Fourth Doctor's Bohemian outfit, which still, if you looked at it, he had the waistcoat, trousers, boots, and a big, long London fog coat. Pertwee's, I don't even know if that was like Edwardian dress or what style that was, but it was all frills and laces.
He had the frills. He had a sort of a suit with a frill front to it, and then he'd always have a jacket of some sort to pull over, jacket / cape.
And the first two Doctors always had that Victorian style trousers, black coat, shirt with a eye of some kind. Troughton wore his messy because he was kind of a cosmic hobo. And the First Doctor was, old man Victorian style.
So he had a big, long-ass bow.
So, yeah, the Doctor's always worn a semi-formal outfit of some kind.
This seems like a really awkward step.
Yeah, this does seem a really awkward... Well, except, like we said, for Eccleston. But Eccleston was, like we said, midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis / post-war reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to be grateful he didn't spray paint the TARDIS red and get a sleek-lined version.
No, he just made it look like a messy wreck.
The coral.
I mean, yeah, what's this desktop theme? Coral?
Don't knock it.
I liked it. That's the one thing from the Matt Smith era I did like was the TARDIS redesign from 7B. The one that was used through Capaldi's run, although they changed the coloration a bit.
They changed the lighting a bit, but otherwise they kept most of it.
Yeah. And I hear it's due for, they're going to talk about changing that again, and I'm going to be very sad because I really like that TARDIS set.
That was actually a fairly solid set.
Yeah.
That was a very nice modern TARDIS. Oh, wow.
So does anyone else have anything to say about Jodie Whittaker's costume?
Before we move on.
Maybe her hair is actually blue.
I'm going to punch you, Bill.
Marge Simpson, Time Lord?
Does that mean her skin's going to be yellow?
In that lighting, quite possibly. All right, let's move on then.
Moffat, who's got the Moffat?
Oh, that's still me, that's right. Yes, Moffat talks about how the show competes with a lower budget. This is some of the promotional work he's been doing to promote the Series 10 DVD and Blu-ray. And he did an interview with Den of Geek. He says, what's Doctor Who got to do except not just really compete, but try and find ways to lead? And what's really difficult about this is we don't have as much money as anybody. The trick we always go for in Doctor Who is to aim for a visual that nobody else has done. We can't do a dogfight in space, except you tried to do a dogfight in space, Moffat, because you've seen a dogfight in space. If we do a city on fire, other people have done this better. Forget those.
I think
Except
he means
you've
a
done
dogfight in
those.
space with. I don't think he wants to do. I think he's talking about a dogfight in space with like actual futuristic spacecrafts, not World
airplanes.
War II Spitfires.
He says, even when we do Dr. Mysterio, we're thinking let's deliberately make it slightly Christopher Reeve level special effects because we can't compete. We had to find new visuals, things you hadn't seen before. A farm on a spaceship. It's cool for no reason I can even think of. Back in the day, Rose Tyler and her Union Jack top during the Blitz. It's a visual you haven't seen anyone else attempt before, therefore we can do something without comparison.
I have to hand him to that one, yeah. Wouldn't expect to see anything like that in that decade.
Some of that.
And that's a logical way to go about it.
It's logical to an extent. I mean, you don't want to try to go head-to-head with frickin' Game of Thrones, because frickin' Game of Thrones has all the fucking money HBO can throw at it for its special effects.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have the Doctor fight a dragon and have the dragon fucking look like one of the dragons from Game of Thrones.
It'll look more like the dragon in The Girl Who Died.
Well, that's actually more of a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
But
tell
it'll look like a dragon out of the D&D movie.
And bits of wood.
Oh, yes.
He'll
Now,
look like
the
a dragon out of the
thing
D&D movie.
The special effects that were made for Tooth and Claw, which was second series Doctor Who, and the werewolf, as being probably one of the best CGI werewolves we've ever seen.
Still holds, yes.
And you got to remember, this was coming out at a time that werewolves were all over the place in movies like Underworld and Harry Potter.
Wasn't the Wolfman remake around that time?
Yes.
Wolfman remake was 2012, yeah.
That was about 6 years later.
Yeah, 6 years later, and was still highly inferior.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, they used that CGI werewolf very sparingly, which is why they were able to make the shots that they had on it really, really good. So sometimes less is more when you do it like that. So that was something that Stephen Moffat, I don't think, ever wrapped his mind around.
That seemed to be one of his big flaws, yeah.
Still, it looked better than something we saw this week, which I'll talk about later. All right. So, moving on. So very recently, the list of upcoming Target novels has come out. Target, you remember, being the release of Doctor Who novelization books. And two interesting names has come up on the upcoming 5 books in the Target series. One book, released on 2nd April of 2018, as yet untitled, is written by Russell T. Davies. And 2 more books, also released the same date, have Stephen Moffat's name on them. What these are, we don't know, as they're not releasing names for them yet. They're pre-ordering for them, but not releasing names. But it's suspected, this being the Target novelization line, that they're probably going to be novelizations of episodes written by Russell T. Davies and Stephen Moffat. Also on the list is a novel by Jenny T. Colgan and another by James Goss. James Goss, of course, recently published his book of Doctor Who poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So
I saw a different headline for this, and I'm trying to figure out who the source was, but I think someone confirmed that one of them was Rose.
that would make sense. That would be Russell T Davies.
Yep.
Right.
And it might be that the other two are like the Empty Child, Dr. Dances, and possibly Blink, if those haven't been released. But again, these haven't been confirmed by the manufacturer.
Okay, so Doctor Who Rose is available for order apparently. From bookdepository.com by Russell T Davies. And I'll send a link to what I'm looking at. So this seems to be the confirmation that
someone
is being
actually has a
used right
possible
now.
list in the comments in the Cult Box article, actually.
Okay.
They're saying that it's The Christmas Invasion by Jenny T. Colgan, Day of the Doctor by Stephen Moffat, Rose by Russell T., Twice Upon a Time by Stephen Moffat, and City of Death by James Goss.
I don't see the source they're using though.
Yeah, I don't see
So
a
that
source, but
pro-
that is one of the rumored
It's
lists.
believable but not confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't actually say for certain on that. Which is why I can't.
It's listed by a person named Paul. Unless the last name is McGann, I have some doubts.
And in fact, we know this is incorrect because the Doctor Who Rose is what's being released on the 2nd of April, 2018. So whoever wrote that list is wrong.
They said Rose was in the list.
Yeah, except for they also. Oh wait, they said why would the Christmas Invasion be written by somebody else?
Not sure. That does make me scratch my head.
Yes, because Russell T Davies wrote the Christmas Invasion. You would think he would do the novelization.
Do the novelization, unless he decided to hand it off for some reason, which is still unusual.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. Rose by RTD.
Rose makes sense.
Yes, Rose makes sense. Day of the Doctor makes sense. Twice Upon a Time makes sense, but I wouldn't think it would be out for release already.
Yeah, not so soon. And then the other two... Huh?
No, City of Death by James Goss makes sense.
Did he do the recent one?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so that does make sense. But that top one, that Christmas Invasion, that's a head-scratcher.
Yeah.
It's possible, but it feels highly unlikely.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know who Jenny T. Colgan is.
She's done a few other Doctor Who novels. I think she's done some 11th and 12th Doctor ones, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I think she might have done some 10th, because I think she was also used by Big Finish for the same Doctor, if I'm not mixing people up.
She wrote Doctor Who Dark Horizons, Into the Nowhere, and In the Blood. So, I wouldn't know why she would write a novelization.
Not a clue.
Well,
apparently she's out of the list, so what the hell is she doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I would think she would cover an author who's not with us anymore.
Would think so, right?
Yeah.
Or who opts out of writing it.
Is their own novelization. Like possibly Neil Gaiman might not want a novel.
Might not want novelize his own one.
Too much money to
That
novelize.
could
be a Douglas Adams situation all over again, except without the hard feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know there. It seems that list seems a little hinky, with Russell T doing one of his but not the other.
Yeah, that seems a little odd. But We'll have to
I'm
wait
going
and
to do
see.
Christopher Eccleston's first appearance and not do David Tennant's first episode. What the hell? Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Yep. All right. We do have Aaron back, so
Yes, I have returned from the portal of time, also known as the toilet. All right, so
Captain's
we've
log.
got a
Captain's log. I've killed games with that phrase.
we've got a another book coming out. The Essential Doctor Who Time Travel traces the development of time travel in the series, describing the rules that were laid down and subsequently revised by the series writers and producers. So it's obviously not a linear idea of time. But here are some of the highlights. Frankenstein versus the Daleks. So look at Terry Nation's first draft of the chase. Original Evil, David Whitaker's story treatment for the evil of the Daleks. The Gamble with Time, the complex pre-production of City of Death. Creating Angels, a visit to the churchyard that helped to inspire the Weeping Angels. River's Run, unraveling the complex chronology of River Song's relationship with the Doctor.
Because they screwed it up themselves.
It's a 116-page bookazine, is what they're calling them. Also including the time-traveling stories such as the Ark, Modern Undead, A Christmas Carol, and Listen, along with exclusive interviews and numerous rare images.
Let's not talk about a Christmas Carol.
They seem to list a lot of the stuff that we kind of downvoted.
Well, no.
Like, a lot of the stuff that we also kind of don't like
River Song?
Yeah. River Song.
Well, it's featuring time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, River Song's relationship and the Doctor doesn't happen in the order of linear time.
Yeah.
So,
especially since they keep adding older and older doctors to her travels.
Yeah, I'm not going to
talk about Rob in the grave.
Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that because I just can't buy it. But
Frankenstein versus the Daleks sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one.
You got to remember that they're talking about the chase.
Mm-hmm.
And the fun part about chase.
Oh, that's
is
right. That was
the Daleks pursuing the Doctor through time.
And that whole scene where there was the thing, there's that whole question: is it a real haunted house? Is it a thing because
that's right.
What everyone assumed would be animatronics is strong enough to fight the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Must be some hell of a group of animatronics.
But yeah, Evil of the Daleks. I'm trying to remember. Actually, I don't think there was any real time travel in Evil of the Daleks. So that one's kind of an odd one out.
No, wait. Evil of the Daleks is the one. Is that not the one with the time corridor between Victorian London and?
Oh, you're right.
Sorrow?
You're right. I got it.
Oh yeah.
With Power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that would have a time corridor. City of Death has, Scar
a lot of time stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Doctor popping back to Renaissance Italy. The Weeping Angels assassinate their victims by sending them back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mentioned the non-linear relationship between River Song and the Doctor.
Which
and
they keep
again,
ruining up as they keep adding.
The Ark is a 4-part story where 2 parts happen at one time, and then the remaining 2 happens 100 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Modern Undead deals with 2 versions of the Brigadier from different times.
Yep.
A Christmas Carol, of course, he goes back in time into the old man's past.
Yep, and muddles with things.
And then Listen, they go back to the beginning of the Doctor's timeline.
Which doesn't make sense because it should be locked away.
And so all of that is, time travel episodes. So what they're choosing makes sense.
At
for a
least
time-
they're pointing to stories that deal with time travel. Yes.
Yes. It makes sense to write about. Not that the episodes make sense, Matt.
Yes. Is that it?
Yeah, and it's on sale now for £10.
Mm-hmm.
Which would mean it's probably going to be about, what, $17.50 over here?
17.20, something like that. Yeah.
$19.99. They'll probably make it $19.99 just because. Big magazine.
Yep.
$24.99 with a Christmas special of $15.99.
Something like that. Anyway, moving on to Big Finish news.
Yes, good old Big Finish news. And the trailer for this month's unit release is out right now. It's 4 new adventures for the Unified Intelligence Task Force in Series 5 Unit Encounters. The team are facing Daleks, Sontarans, and their greatest threat to date. Can Kate Stewart and unit prevail? I'm guessing yes.
I don't. A standpoint, units never held up well against Daleks. Not unless the Doctor's there.
And we have some storylines. First, we have the Dalek Transaction by Matt Fitton. When a rogue guerrilla faction offers an alien artifact for auction, Kate Stewart and her team go undercover to the jungles of Central America, but they find that the prize on offer is far deadlier than its owners realize. Captive, desperate, and alone. That's when a Dalek is at its most dangerous.
Unit might be able to beat one Dalek.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed, but
let's remind you of what happened to Henry Van Straten.
Yes. But they're not unit.
yeah, that's the thing. I'm hoping Unit doesn't have the arrogance and the ignorance that comes with a Henry Van Straten.
Well, Unit already knows what a Dalek is, so they're not.
Yeah,
True.
they only faced them once, and that was Day of the Daleks.
True,
Also-
although their predecessors in the countermeasures group faced them once as well.
Mm-hmm.
So technically
They
twice.
could do the
and
same thing they did with the Cybermen. They could throw a broken Dalek head at the Dalek and be like, "We fought you before." Ha ha ha.
Yeah, no. Go ahead and keep reading, Tim, because we're starting to run out of time.
All right. Invocation by Roy Gill. It's Halloween, and Josh finds himself at a party where phantoms are becoming all too real. Osgood is working late and hears a voice from the skies making strange incantations. The next day, Kate has gone missing in the Scottish borders, and the team head north to investigate. Ghosts from the past are haunting Unit, and now they threaten the whole world. Then we have the Sontaran Project by Andrew Smith. On a routine reconnaissance mission, Colonel Shindy finds more than he bargains for in the forest of Ardennes. Back in England, an old colleague makes Osgood an offer she cannot refuse, the chance to take part in an exciting new scientific advance. Before long, Unit is on collision course with a force of alien clones, and Kate must forge an unlikely alliance. And finally, False Negative by John Dorney. When a strange travel capsule is activated in Unit's laboratory, Osgood and Josh find themselves in a whole new world of trouble. Soon, nobody at Unit HQ is quite who they seem, and the team discovers that the greatest danger they could ever face comes from within. Dun dun dun.
Thank you, Tim. If you weren't going to do that, I was. Although I probably would have gone dun dun dun.
Da-da-da-da.
All right, moving on to the next one, Tim.
Moving on, the Sixth Doctor is continuing his travels with Flip and Constance in The Middle. The latest tale in the Doctor Who main range is out now, starring Colin Baker, Lisa Greenwood, and Miranda Raisin. It's L. Ren Mrs. Constance Clark's birthday, and Flip is determined to make it an anniversary to remember. The futuristic colony of Formica, where the pampered populace pass their days in endless leisure, seemed the perfect place for a Wren party, but all is not as it seems. Looking down from the middle, the skyscraping tower that ascends as far as the colony ceiling, Formica's overseers can see that the Doctor doesn't fit in. and that's not just his coat that makes him conspicuous. The end is the beginning, says the propaganda-like posters all over Formica, because to be part of this perfect society comes at a price, and the Doctor's already in arrears.
I think it's Formicia, but because there's two eyes.
Oh, alright. Sorry.
Alright. And...
Yep. Finally, there's news of countermeasures versus the Great Intelligence. The new countermeasure series will feature characters from the Doctor Who TV adventures Remembrance of the Dalek.
Yeah, that's kind of what the new countermeasures is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there are 4 new missions. The Splintered Man by Roland Moore. When a Spanish scientist kills himself in an explosion at a secret test facility, countermeasures are called in to salvage anything they can from the wreckage. But someone else is stalking the scene, as Richie is reunited with an old flame. She finds herself drawn into the heart of a mystery. The Ship of Sleepwalkers by Christopher Hatherell. The countermeasures team wake up on a luxury cruise, with no knowledge of how and when they got on board. Who has brought them here, and why? My Enemy's Enemy by Robert Kahn and Tom Selinsky. Glamorous international arms dealer Lady Suzanne Clare has come to town as an offering herself into the hands of countermeasures. The price, her own safety. But can their former nemesis ever really be trusted? And then there's Time of Intelligence by Andy Frankham Allen. A strange voice is interrupting TV broadcasts across the capital, and bear-like creatures are raiding factories, stealing equipment, and killing guards. The Great Intelligence and his army of Yeti have returned, and there's only one team that can stop them. The Yeti appear by arrangement with the Heisman Literary Estate. And all this is out in December 2017. You can pre-order the new Countermeasure Series 2 at £30 on CD or £25 on download.
Here's my question: if they're having the Great Intelligent, who's voicing the Great Intelligence?
Good question.
Because it should be Richard E. Grant.
Did the GI have a voice in the 60s, though?
Not that
Not
I'm
originally.
aware of.
So they're probably doing it without a voice.
Maybe.
So just going to be getting...
But it says a strange voice is interrupting TV broadcasts.
So Richard D.
okay.
Grant should do that if they're going to keep continuity.
Yes.
Who's going to stop these horrible Yeti? The proper authorities. And we walk off set.
Who's going to stop these Yeti? Someone else.
It's
All
time
right, so that's
for
coming
the
out
proper
next
authorities. Good day.
All right, and that's really it for our news. Our Geek Talk section, we had a couple of things that people wanted to talk about. Thomas, you went and you saw the latest Pokemon movie.
Yeah, long story short, it's very, like, if you are nostalgic for the, original Indigo League or Kanto stuff, then I'd say this is kind of worth a shot. Because this is basically kind of a reboot in a way.
Except without the best characters.
Yeah, there's no, like, spoilers, there's no Misty and Brock in this movie. And this is actually because this is happening now, this is with the advent of all the Pokemon up to now existing as well. So this is a Sun and Moon movie, technically. But it's Ash starting over. I mean, like, if you've seen the original show, about the first 15 minutes is literally just like the first episode or two redone. Not exactly the same, but yeah. But it's a really good movie. There were certain bits that, honestly, if you hadn't seen them before in the show, probably wouldn't get an emotional reaction from you, but did for me because of that. And the main issue the movie has, though, is it has a very weird tone problem.
I was led to believe the main issue was an abomination of nature that supposedly appears.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that one. Do we want to talk about the elephant in the room that just came up because of Bill?
To be honest, I'm trying to think of what you guys are talking about.
Okay, I'm going to say bluntly for you. Pikachu should not speak English.
Oh, right. That one thing that happens for like 2 seconds and then never gets talked about again.
Literally, I saw footage and the entire theater erupted with, "What?"
Like the movie guys did that. It's like, well, that was a mistake. Let's not deal with that again.
You see, I could understand if you subtitled it and kept the usual Pikachu voice, but making Pikachu suddenly speak in English is all the levels of wrong. It just does not work on... It might work on paper, but it does not work on screen.
It's like Scooby-Doo abruptly losing his speech.
I honestly just took it as Ash kind of hallucinating that Pikachu was speaking.
Ash has always been able to talk to Pikachu after a short while.
Yeah, but we're thinking it was Ash hallucinating.
Actually, everybody seems to do that with their Pokemon. Apparently just being owner of a Pokemon makes you be able to understand them after a while.
No, that Ash was hallucinating that Pikachu was speaking English.
Oh, well, still.
Yeah.
I mean, Ash just having a hallucination fit makes you wonder a little bit about Ash, though. So this is actually Ash and not Red.
This is actually Ash.
Speaking of, though, there is a slight Easter egg, which I guess I'll spoil anyway. So if anyone doesn't want to hear it, then,
plug your ears.
Mute for a couple of seconds, yeah. They redo the, I'm going to pick this Pokemon. Sorry, that's already taken thing. Every time he lists the Pokemon off, they show a character grabbing it. So Squirtle gets grabbed by Gary, or Blue, or whatever you want to call him. Some random girl I've never seen before grabs Bulbasaur. And what seems like to me is that they reference the games by having someone who looks like Red grab the Charmander.
Now I've got to see if the girl looks like Leaf from Fire Red and Leaf Green.
That might be a possibility. So they reference the other 3 games, and then we have Ash.
Overall, Thomas, did you like it or did you not like it?
I liked it. It has some issues, but overall, I enjoyed it.
All right. And Matt, you said that you recently caught up with the rest of us by seeing Thor Ragnarok and Blade Runner.
All right. Yep. So I'm gonna start with Thor. Getting some images up here really quick. So Thor Ragnarok. Oh my god. Okay, so I don't think this is like it's hard to equal up to Guardians of the Galaxy, but I will say this is like right in between like Guardians of the Galaxy and like Doctor Strange levels of awesome. Like right in the middle somewhere in there for me. I really like this movie. And the big thing I really liked about it is that we actually have a character change that we see gradually come forth throughout the rest of the movie. Like Thor starts going down this journey and he starts tumbling into it as soon as his father dies, essentially. Like he's a little more tongue-in-cheek because of his adventures looking for these stones, but then he starts getting these serious moments too, and then he starts having to wake up to the fact that he's now the king, even if he's been kind of pushed out of his homeland right now. And I like where he ends up head-wise by the end of the movie.
Mind you just spoiled a bunch of the movie.
What? I didn't spoil anything. I've been very vague. Well, other than the fact that, Odin dies. Well, I guess that might be the one thing I spoiled. But he's literally not in most of the movie, and it happens very early, so it's not much of a spoiler.
What did you think of the non-main characters?
Non-main characters. Like the stone guy?
Anybody who wasn't Thor or Loki or Hulk.
Anyone that wasn't Thor, Loki, or Hulk. Hela was actually a really interesting villainess. I don't think we had much time to give her background though. Like they gave a very basic background and then shoved her in. That being said, for what little time she got on screen, she was actually really effective as a villainess.
What did you think of the Valkyrie lady?
The Valkyrie, that's a very different look for the Valkyrie, by the way. But other than that, it's a very different take on the Valkyrie. I liked her background, and I liked where they're going with the character, so keep that up, as far as I'm concerned. She seemed like a very interesting new character for the throw-in. Oh, and speaking of which, Randy and Aaron, you are so wrong. I want more Jeff Goldblum.
I'm sorry, no, you're wrong.
No, you are wrong, good sir. More Jeff Goldblum, please. More Jeff Goldblum. More.
You either love Jeff Goldblum, and I don't really hate him now that I think about it.
You guys complain that he's awkward, but he's like a very charismatic awkward. That's what is really good about him.
I didn't find him to be charismatic at all.
He's a very charismatic awkwardness, and he kind of just lives in that, and that's what I like about that character is that he likes to be a little bit awkward, but he's like, yeah, I'm a little bit offbeat. Hi. Yeah, we had a nice fight, didn't we? By the way, it's a tie.
I just didn't buy him.
If we flesh him out a bit more, I could totally buy him as a villain in another movie. He was an interesting backdrop character for this one to set up the whole arena thing.
I just didn't buy him.
Also, did you notice any particular heads on that tower? By the way, the Champions Tower.
Other than Hulk's, not really.
Beta Ray Bill's on that tower.
Oh,
nice.
They were actually apparently planning to have him in the movie, but at the last minute they decided that, we'll bring him later when we have more chance to flesh him out.
Yeah, because he's in the Planet Hulk animated movie that came out a while back.
Mm-hmm. And that's where they got the idea to possibly put him in this, but they're like, we don't really have enough time. We're squeezing in as it is, so let's put him in one of the upcoming sequels, and we'll have Beta Ray Bill there. Which also means there's technically another Thor's hammer out there.
Matt, move on.
But yeah, moving along. But anyway, yeah, I like this movie. I liked it a lot. So, not the best, but definitely by no means the worst. Blade Runner. Oh my God, Blade Runner. By the way, my theater was like half packed.
Yeah,
so we actually had a
ours
decent
was
turnout,
still
which is
fully full,
surprising me because of how quickly they're trying to hurry the movie out. And also what I liked was some of the audience reactions. Like the first time you see a naked figure on the screen, I heard a couple giggles in the crowd, but that kind of quickly died away. I think people started to see this as more of an art piece less than just, oh look, there's naked people giggle. Because I think it also got like super serious on them too. And I love the pacing, by the way. This is exactly the same kind of pacing the original movie had. There's like little references if you're paying attention to what some of the characters do, and I love the character motivations as you slowly figure out what actually is going on by the end of the movie.
Yeah. And, I think that the major problem with a lot of people had in this movie is it's not a fast-paced action movie. But the original wasn't.
Yes. People who wanted a fast-paced, action-packed Blade Runner don't want the original Blade Runner sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it, yeah.
It's a detective movie. It's
a detective movie that has a bit of fighting with it, a bit of detective work in it, and a bit of, like, what's the world like around us going on in it. There's a lot of deep stuff in here that you need to pay attention to. And it's probably going to take me like another 3 or 4 more viewings before I get all of it either.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait till it comes out on home video or on HBO or something.
Oh yeah, I'm going to watch that sucker to death.
3-4 times in a row, yeah.
Love Harrison Ford coming back to this, by the way. He played Deckard effortlessly, it felt to me.
Also, he's Harrison Ford.
He's Harrison Ford.
Deckard is sectionally Harrison Ford.
Also like the little tidbits of the dog that Harrison Ford has in this. Is that a real dog? I don't know. Ask him. and just kind of looks at him.
Yeah, Harrison Ford pretty much has Harrison Ford mode. It's basically Indiana Jones and Han Solo. It's all the same fucking character.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the new main guy, played by Ryan Gosling, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm seeing here, yeah, he does a really good job as playing a replicant, and then playing a replicant who's starting to crack like the old replicants, and then tries to hide it when he's trying to hold face. Like there's a lot of levels to that guy in this movie. And he manages to pull it off really well. It's hard to try and imagine yourself in the shoes of a replicant, but he does it very well.
All right. So question for you, Matt, to wrap you up here.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough money to see one movie.
Uh-huh.
Thor and Blade Runner are appearing at your theaters.
Oh.
Which one do you go see?
For only one of them. Oh.
Yes.
Right now, I would say if you only have enough money for like this week or so, get to Blade Runner ASAP before that sucker is completely gone. There's literally only 8 theaters when we went to see it this weekend. But it is the best of them, but it's also the hardest to watch right now, and you better hurry.
Not the point. When they expire, this is all the money you're going to have for several months, or all the movie money.
Oh, then hold off and watch Star Wars.
Actually, yeah, if you're going to go that route, then wait for Star Wars. Fuck it.
Not point I was trying to get.
Well, you ruined your own point then.
You did. 5-minute challenge.
Oh well.
Moving right along, you fail.
Can I throw in a quick little
No, you can't, because we are literally way past
please.
time. We are 20 minutes over time.
Aww. I just wanted to talk about the World of Warcraft Classic servers that are coming out.
No.
Interesting. Moving along.
Okay, you did. 25-minute challenge.
All right.
5-minute challenge.
I still had my rant to get through, and this is kind of important.
Okay.
And the thing is, of course, very recently, the Doctor Who fan base, which is getting increasingly more toxic on a daily basis, has moved from demonizing Jodie Whittaker for being a female doctor to demonizing Chris Chibnall. Saying, oh, well, if you take a look at Chibnall's body of work writing for Doctor Who, Chibnall sucks. He doesn't deserve to be showrunner. I would like to say to you guys, fuck off. Look at more than just what he has done as a writer of Doctor Who. First of all, Chibnall hasn't written for Doctor Who in 5 years. Yes. He has been doing other
Series
stuff.
7, 5 years?
That would be 2013. It's 2017.
Oh, yeah, you're
4
right.
years,
You're right.
almost 5 years.
And it was 7A, I think. So, yeah, that would be...
No,
you are right.
Yes, 7A. That would be 2012, 5 years.
Yeah, so
5
you're
years.
right, 5 years.
Yes. So, yeah, he hasn't written for it in 5 years. He's been doing other stuff. He's been doing Broadchurch, for which he's won awards.
Yes.
In addition, he not only did work for Doctor Who, he did a lot of work for Torchwood. And while he did write the worst episodes of Torchwood, he also wrote some of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And he pretty much held Torchwood together through Series 2. Until after that, Russell T took over and ran it into the ground. But he wrote the better parts of Series 2. He wrote the best episode of Torchwood overall, and he did write some crap. But, again, that was before he even did Broadchurch. Chibnall has had time to grow and evolve as a showrunner. And that's the difference here, is being a good writer does not make one a good showrunner. Look at Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat was arguably one of the best writers for Doctor Who that we've ever had. During the early days, during the first 4 years of Doctor Who, he wrote the greatest episodes. His episodes come off like a greatest hits of Doctor Who ever. Empty Child Doctor Dances, Blink, Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. He wrote some of the most memorable Doctor Who episodes. And then he became showrunner, and things started going to shit because he's not a good showrunner. Russell T, on the other hand, is a mediocre writer, but he was good at the things that make you a good showrunner, which is writing on a short timeline under pressure. What he managed to crank out in those times was passable. Never memorable, but passable. And he was good at editing other people's body of work and making it show up. So those are the talents we want to see out of Chibnall. Writing under pressure and helping other people make their work better. So, and apparently he's been doing Broadchurch, and Broadchurch worked. People say, oh, well, it's a predictable, cop show. It's all been done before. That wasn't the point of Broadchurch. If that's what you took away from Broadchurch, you looked at it wrong. It's a character drama. Now, there are issues with Chibnall's style that I do worry about. If you look at all the male characters in Broadchurch, they're all inherently flawed and functionally suck, including Hardy, the main character. Whereas all the female characters get off on a scot-free pass. Kind of a reverse misogynism.
I don't have that reading of it, but okay.
That's kind of the way you take away from stuff. I would have loved to see the show where basically everybody sucked. I mean, that's kind of the point, is that you scratch away the veneer and everybody has these flaws in this small community.
I mean,
But
I saw it as different types of flaws, but I definitely saw Miller and Jodie Whittaker's character as both having deep flaws, just very different types of flaws compared to Hardy or the others.
aren't they just functionally, though, the victim? Either way, I'm a little worried about that, because that is the same kind of mentality that went into writing Ghostbusters. The new one, not the original.
That and everybody's stupid, but...
I'm hoping that he's not going to try to do that in this show. I'm hoping he has a better grip on things. But don't diss him for being a bad writer. And don't think that because what he wrote for Doctor Who 5 years ago was mediocre, that's going to make him a bad showrunner. Look at everything he's done, and most important, what he's done recently. Not for Doctor Who in general. That's the end of my rant.
All right.
All right. 5-minute challenge. Give me a moment here to grab a drink while you get the...
Stopwatch is already ready. I have that tab open before we even start the stream.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
We start the episode with the Doctor having a horrible nightmare of volcanoes, disaster, a big freaking glowing crystal, and the Master laughing at him as he gains ultimate power. He wakes up and immediately phones the Brigadier and puts him on alert to look out for the Master. Which, the Brigadier is kind of nonplussed about, because the Master is like, I've seen the Master where I saw him in a dream. Okay. And thus doing that, the Doctor proceeds to start worrying about the Master and begins to build a device to detect essentially time distortion. Although they don't call it that, this is the Third Doctor era. So, while he's doing that, the Brigadier has to go to this demonstration of a device called TomTit, which is being done at a local university. The Doctor, he originally asked the Doctor to go, but he's like, I'm too busy, yada, yada, yada. So the Brigadier winds up going with Benton. They wind up going there, and we move over there to TomTit, and we discover, of course, the fact that the person behind it is the Master. Dun, dun, dun. He talks to his 2 assistants to set things up, and then excuses himself to talk to the head of the university, whom he promptly hypnotizes to be his servant, as they decide to go off and try to experiment with TomTit on their own. They succeed, but nearly blow everything up in a huge power backlash. The Master chastises them, but is immediately contrite when they realize they're about ready to walk if he doesn't stop acting like an asshole. They tell him about the power backlash, which he is very concerned about, and starts working on a way to get around it. He was going to leave it to them to do, but then Unit shows up, and he decides it's best if he's not seen for a while, and goes away. So they deal with that, and pretty soon they're ready for the demonstration. The Master comes out in a big lead suit so that the Brigadier can't tell who he is, even though he sounds exactly like the Master. And proceeds to do an experiment which sets off the Doctor's detector. And the Doctor, of course, then travels cross-country to exactly where they are, just in time to see this big experiment. The Master, of course, reveals himself and tries to summon forth Kronos. And fails. At first, we don't know why. The Doctor and the Master get in a little teet-a-teet. Eventually, Benton is left in charge to keep an eye on him, and he promptly disables Benton, figures out what's wrong, and has it all go to work again, and he summons a giant white space chicken. There's no other way to describe this thing. It flies around the room until the Master locks it in the power thing, sends it back, and then accidentally brings forth a Atlantean priest, whom he basically makes serves his ass, reveal the fact that the crystal he has isn't the full crystal, that the rest of it's in a vault in Atlantis. So the Master and him go back to Atlantis after setting up a trap, slowing down time and stopping all the Unit people from coming in on him. The Doctor, of course, is able to deal with this no problem, hitches a ride in the Master's TARDIS by moving his TARDIS into the Master's TARDIS, while simultaneously the Master's in the Doctor's TARDIS. I got flash forwards to Legopolis here, and eventually they wind up in ancient Atlantis, where the Master immediately starts wooing the Queen of the Atlanteans to begin a bit of a political intrigue. The Doctor, of course, meets with the King, and they're all ready to stop the Master's plans to summon forth Kronos. But quickly the King is deposed, the Master is made the new King, and he immediately summons Kronos, which destroys Atlantis. Afterwards, the Master and the Doctor try to escape, but they're blown outside of space and time into Kronos' domain. Kronos grants the Doctor a boon. He says he wants to basically go home, and then later asks for the Master's life, thinking that he would take him home in jail. Unfortunately, Kronos interprets that as making the Master go free. So, with the Master still on the loose, the Doctor gets in the TARDIS and heads back to Unit. Pretty much end of story there.
Alright. You got that in about 4 minutes and about 39 seconds.
Not bad for a six-parter.
Not bad for a six-parter.
Especially one with as many dissimilar parts as this one.
Mm-hmm. Anyways.
And I even got to put the wry comments on the giant frickin' space chicken. All right, so what you liked about the episode, and
chop, chop.
Tim, you are first.
Oh, I really liked how it seemed like this episode was 2 episodes in side by side, but each had their own unique flavor. Like the first episode with the modern thing with the Unit and the Professor and everything, and then we had go into the Atlantis part, which was a bit of a shift, but it wasn't too whiplashy, if that is making any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And, we've seen this done in Doctor Who before, where, the Ark was in one location, and then the second 2 episodes were in the same location 100 years later. So it was like having 2 different stories taking place in the same location as one gigantic episode. So that was kind of a callback to that, I think.
Just about.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, how about you? What did you like about the episode overall?
What do I like overall? I like that the Master is actually showing some more competence again. Like, he actually gets at least 1 or 2 people to fall under his control. Whether it's from playing chess or from just complete and total mind control and actually doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, the Master seems to come off better in this than, especially this season, than he did last season,
Yes.
where all of his plans were inherently stupid.
Now his plans are at least advanced enough that you're not quite sure where he's going to go with things.
Yeah.
Or at least he's also playing it clever enough that he doesn't immediately show signs of stupid idea.
Thomas, how about you?
Honestly, I tried to think of something, but I couldn't really think of any overarching aspects, so I'm just going to take a pass.
All right. Bill?
I really like to see the Master actually doing a temporal threat. He's actually doing something that really only a Time Lord or somebody on a Time Lord level as a and it first time.
Is he garbled for anyone else?
What
he's coming in and out to
Yeah,
me.
he's garbled for me.
Cutting in and out.
But anyways, essentially, he's glad that
So something
the Master's doing a Time Lordy
Yeah,
thing
but
that only Time Lords can do.
Thematically.
Thematically as a villain, yeah.
It looks like Discord was trying to kick me off while I was talking, so hopefully.
Yes.
you are
Okay,
used to
yeah,
that.
yeah, you sound like you're back. We get the basic
Alright.
gist of what you're trying to go for.
Yep. Aaron?
I liked the Banter characters. The professor and the assistant, the fellow, the guy who was worried about losing his fellowship and stuff with the university. I also liked the university head, as you could tell that he was scared and everything. He was nervous about what was going on and confused and just really didn't understand his situation.
When the Master started messing with his brain, yeah.
Mm-hmm,
I also like that
yeah.
he was actually a really stern and smart guy. He was about to throw the Master out on his ear until all of a sudden the mind controls started to kick in.
Yeah, he actually did research. He's like, I've been looking into your background. You nothing you said is true, and and then you've got the head scientist, and who's obviously into, well, it's the 70s, so she might be into women's lib, and has some very strong opinions on that versus her coworker who just kind of brushes the women's lib movement off and everything like that. And he's got some interesting scenes too. He grows old and then he grows young again, and they do a lot with those characters. And even the Atlanteans. You've got the one guy who seems to have a crush on the Queen almost.
Well, they seem to be having something in the background, yeah.
Yeah, like he walks in on her and he's like, "Oh, well, I mistook you for, the beautiful woman who used to stand before me. Now you're the Queen of Atlantis."
Oh yeah, it sounded like he was like a former friend of hers from years ago.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this was after her husband was hauled away or whatever. Like he obviously, and she wielded power now and was willing to use it against him. He's like, "Well, I thought you were my friend," that type of deal. So, and even the King of Atlantis, geez, yeah, there's a lot of interesting little background characters that really flesh out the story.
Yeah, that's really good writing on Robert Sloman's part.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Not somebody I think that we'd seen before.
Not that I can recall.
He actually
he co-wrote an episode.
He co-wrote the Daemons.
That's right.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is basically a remake of, at least the first half.
It steps into some
Or
slightly
not
new
the-
territory,
well,
but
parts-
yeah.
Apparently,
Parts of it, I'll say. Yeah.
He then would
He's uncredited, but apparently Barry Letts also did some writing for this.
So
yeah,
it's the
but
same team.
less than he did with the Daemons, though, I think. He also will, in the future, do The Green Death and Planet of the Spiders.
Ooh, excellent.
We've reviewed Planet of the Spiders. We did not review The Green Death. So
Not yet.
I think our main problem with Planet of the Spiders was the little plastic spiders they used.
Yeah, the props were not that effective. The rest of it was pretty solid, though.
All right. So, was Aaron? Okay, that's me. I really actually liked the soundtrack in this. It was they're
Refreshing
in the right
not to have an
places.
ear piercing.
Yes. By the way, this soundtrack was done by Dudley Simpson,
Yeah.
the guy that we reported his death last week.
Yep.
And this is fairly typical for a Doctor Who soundtrack, as we will hear through like the Fourth Doctor era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it reminded me a lot of tracks that I heard during the Doctor and Leela era. It's not anything special, but compared to last week, I had to comment on how well it was done, how appropriately.
Yeah.
All right. So, what didn't you like about the episode, Tim?
Well, I didn't think the chicken was chickeny enough. I mean, like, if you're gonna make a monster, a giant chicken, like, be bold and really do it, you know, is like, the chicken was too nondescript for me.
God damn it, Tim.
I hear Randy's
the funny thing
hamster
is,
just flopped over
apparently-
dead.
I'm sorry,
That's
but
funny.
just for me, I was great with the episode until they summoned the albino space chicken. Because after that, I'm just like, okay, this
So
has
if-
gone from cool to ludicrous in
So-
2 seconds
so-
flat.
If the space chicken was not albino, you would have been better with it, which
Oh,
supports
no. Oh,
Tim's
no.
point.
No, the whole concept was just stupid. That was a bad costume. That was a bad costume that should have really been rethought by them.
They should have just kept it a special effect.
Yeah, they should have. I mean, taking a chapter from Star Trek's and just made it like a visual overlay, gaseous cloud or something.
The less is more routine.
Yes. The fact that we see this thing flapping around and looking, and all I can think of is, it's a guy in a chicken suit.
This looks like a
I'm
Monty
just
Python prop.
Yeah, I was just, okay. Done with it. Matt, was there anything else bad about this episode for you?
Anything else bad about this episode for me?
Other than the giant chicken.
Other than the giant chicken, actually, I think they need some better direction with the slow down running, because I noticed people has this very silly running in motion look, slow motion look. I think the actual digital effect was slightly better than actually having them do a fake running in still.
The problem there is they couldn't just slow down the film digitally or anything, because while they're
Actually,
doing
they
this,
did it a couple times.
The Doctor's moving mostly normally. Because, you know, him being the Doctor is immune to that kind of thing.
Still, there's better ways to do it again. Less is more. They showed it a little too up close a couple of times. It's like, this isn't holding up. Whoops. Oh well. Maybe next time.
Thomas, how about you? Is there anything you didn't like other than the chicken?
Well, honestly, the entire, like, outside of a few moments here and there, basically Atlantis itself. Like, some of the, like, the acting outside of maybe just the king is very all over the place. Some of the costumes look cheap even for Doctor Who. And honestly, there's that one dude that you see, like, that, like, God or Lord or whatever the shit he is.
The guy with
who,
the
like,
eyeliner?
interacts with them a bit, and then, yeah. That specifically, that eyeliner is like, wait, are we supposed to be in, like, Greece or Egypt right now? Like, what is this?
It's like it's
Like,
out of I
it's so
Claudius or
weird.
something.
That's exactly what you said. It's like, did we just step onto the set of I Claudius?
Yeah, like, when the ancient, like, when that Atlantis stuff came on, I was just like, I kind of checked out for a bit after it
Yeah.
started, because it's just like, it's
I was going to comment
like,
one more thing, but I'll see if someone else has it.
All right.
but
Bill?
anyway,
Oh wait, go ahead.
Yeah.
I need to head off now, so I'm gonna just leave written stuff in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover it for you then.
All right.
Yeah,
Bill?
this episode's running way late.
So I think there are a few characters, mainly especially the priest character, that comes off as very one note, and it just gets repetitive and tiresome after a while, especially when he was the non-main cast member with dialogue for a little bit.
Okay. Aaron?
I think for me it was some of the special effects, like the slow motion special effects.
Matt mentioned that.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned the slow motion.
Yeah, that's it for me then.
And the giant chicken. So those
There
those two
was
combined
the giant
essentially.
chicken and a little bit of the Atlantis scene. So several people have taken mine. Yes.
All right. Did you have another thing, Matt?
I wanted to add on a little bit to what Thomas was saying, and the sets in Atlantis were looked a bit chintzy at times. They obviously wobbled, and some of them almost looked like they're made out of cardboard.
Yeah, that's Doctor Who in the 70s.
Yeah, they had better earlier, but anyway, yeah, it's just ugh.
One of the things I would like to point out is something I actually did like, by the way. Was the Minotaur.
The Minotaur was actually relatively well done for its age. Yeah.
I looked at that and I said, "Holy shit, that looks better than the Nyman."
Yeah.
And Aaron looks and it's like, "Yeah, I need to come out and take a look." And it's like, "Oh my god, you're right. That is better than the Nyman." For those of you who don't know, Horns of the Nyman was a Fourth Doctor episode done in like 1981, I think.
Something like that. And essentially they were space minotaurs, and they all sucked.
They all were terrible. Terrible design.
I own that DVD.
Yes, I know you do. I remember chastising you for owning it.
Hey, if she got for $5, I can't blame her. It's a cheap DVD for Doctor Who.
All right, favorite scenes, Tim.
Okay, now there are a lot of scenes in this episode that I loved, but I'm going to pick one, and I hope it's not one anyone picks else's. It's the scene where Joe and the Doctor are trapped in the chamber, and the Doctor tells Joe about his darkest day.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a cute moment, yeah.
That was a good moment. And if I remember Up and Coming, the Doctor has a few of those scenes with Sarah Jane in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Leading up, of course, to Planet of the Spiders. All right. Matt? Best scene?
Best scene. Trying to whittle it down to just one. I'm going to go with Joe willingly coming back into the TARDIS with the Doctor and going, "Oh, you've been upgrading things." And we see the new walls in the set. The set just looks so much more pristine than the last time we looked at it. It's a nice little mention.
Set?
The TARDIS set, yeah.
I had to disagree with you. I hated those things they had in place of roundels. Those big freaking bowls they had on the walls.
The big bowl roundels. I don't care. It looked better than cardboard.
It did, but they wobbled horribly.
I didn't notice it, but then again, my quality might not have been that good.
Yeah, we were watching this on BritBox, mind you.
So yeah, you had high definition, so you saw more of it.
And yeah, every time the doors open and closed, I think in the upper right one would just wobble like hell.
Which they obviously would work on over the next couple days, next couple months.
I don't know. By the time we see the TARDIS set again, they've had a new set. So.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it was. I think they realized that was going to be a problem. I think they were actually bowls stuck on there with essentially Scotch tape. So.
Still, it's better than cardboard walls. Thank God.
It is. Yes.
And I like the fact that they also changed the center console for the Master.
I did like that. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Thomas, his favorite scene, the time ram. The Master calling the Doctor's bluff, talks him into it. Something I missed on the oversight. Yeah, the Doctor actually rams the Master's TARDIS. And the Doctor's bluffing, coaxing him into it, and then Jo taking it upon herself to make it happen when the Doctor can't bring himself to. Had this been a shorter serial, this would have been a great penultimate episode cliffhanger. Yeah, it would have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was pretty much the climax of the final episode. All right, Bill.
All right, so I'm actually going to go with the Brigadier reacting as the Doctor tells him, one, to make their already firster priority because he had a bad dream.
Yeah.
And his reaction there is perfect, and there are parts of it where I was kind of, feeling the same thing, and I'm just like, this is why we have the Brigadier.
Yeah.
Talks a little bit of sense into the Doctor.
Yeah, but mind you, I was actually on the Doctor's side about this because I know that Time Lords are slightly telepathic with each other.
Yes, but of course the Doctor wasn't explaining that.
Had he ever had a Slayer dream up to this point?
I don't think so.
He's had moments of telepathic fighting, but not something quite like this.
No. But this does come into play in next week's review. So
something to keep note of.
Yep. Aaron, how about you? Your favorite scene?
Let me see here. Let me consult my notes. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about how the master came in and expected the fellow to correct his superior, and why won't he rein her in and everything? And she's like, you do realize I'm the senior employee here.
This kind of
happened to me at work. That's not fun.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of fit perfectly in with some of John Sims' Master's attitudes in his most recent appearance.
Mm-hmm. So that's the scene that I like because it pretty much reflected what I've gone through personally. So.
All right. So as for me, favorite scene, 2 words: Baby Benton.
That baby was adorable.
Yes. All right. Least favorite scene, Tim.
Least favorite scene was the reveal of the cliffhanger where the bomb falls and Mike Yates is just okay. His shirt isn't even torn up that much.
Yeah. What was it? A V2 rocket?
A V2, an airplane crash landed. I forget which kind of airplane.
I thought they said it was an old German V2 rocket.
That's impossible, not in Britain.
The Master was displacing stuff from space and time.
He was displacing stuff that was there in history. Like there's a side character that even mentioned there was supposed to be an airplane that crashed here. We couldn't ever find it. Hello?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I swear the Doctor or
it was an airplane. We literally see the wings on it.
V2s had wings, Matt. But I don't know. I swear they'd identified it as a German V2, but
I'm not sure. Well, we'd have to go back and look. Anyway.
Either way,
missile airplane.
Either way, the explosion should have killed Yates dead. He should have been a charred, smoking corpse.
And the most he got was a little ketchup on his face.
Yeah, instead he dusts himself off like he's fucking Superman. And walks off. Like he's like an 80s action hero or some shit. And this is the 70s.
And we didn't even get a shot of him, like, walking away from the explosion like a badass.
No, we just get the aftermath where he's leaning against a Jeep and the Brigadier's going like, yep, you're too scuffed up to keep going today. You're going back to the Medibay and that's final.
I'm fine. Give me a sandwich, I'm fine. Yeah, that's... All right, Matt, how about you? Least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene. I'm a giant white chicken and I'm caught in this little office. Let me out.
I'm the great devourer of time, yet I'm stopped by an office door.
I'm the cousin of Big Bird. Let me out, children.
I want to see the actual end of the episode where one of the lab assistants walks around in there and pulls out the egg of Kronos. Thank you for reminding me that in about 3 or 4 months we're going to get those Cadbury commercials again. All right.
Anyway.
Thomas said, least favorite scene. Majority of the scenes at Atlantis. Teneric one. The scene where some lord I can't remember the name of has an argument with the queen. The Atlantic acting is at its worst there. It's a scene for the sake of it, since it never really goes anywhere, and we don't care about either of these people's relationship to each other. So kind of the opposite of what you thought, Aaron.
Makeup guy and queen, yeah. He didn't care for that scene.
Oh, okay.
Bill, how about you?
So mine's actually very similar to that. It's the master having an argument with the queen, because the whole time you're just like, you know, this isn't going to go anywhere. It's just kind of killing time for whatever the finale is, and it doesn't add enough entertainment value to be worth feeling like a waste of time.
All right, Aaron?
The scene where the master makes the doctor speak backwards, and then Joe is like, "What is he saying?" or "What were you saying?" And the doctor's like, "I was speaking backwards, Joe."
English backwards.
English backwards. It's just like, jeez.
Clearly, she's not a Zatanna fan. That might be. I'm not actually sure when that character came into being, but.
Zatanna? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, God, I can't remember, because it was Zatara before it was
1964, so yeah, she would have been around.
Yeah, but
I don't know if she had that shtick or not, but...
I don't know how much she would have been, how
popular she would have been in Britain.
Yeah.
I don't think DC really did any comics in Britain for at least another couple of years.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think she had that feature originally. I think that might have been something that was added to her post-crisis.
That's also a possibility.
So, yeah, I'm thinking that was... that backward speaking was not something they were that familiar with.
Outside of the Beatles.
Yeah, other than playing Beatles records backwards, yeah. And this wasn't actually full-on speaking backwards. It was syllabic backwards. So every syllable was pronounced backwards, which is painful. So my least favorite scene. Ugh. I'm going to pass, because I don't really have
covered
a least
everything.
favorite scene that wasn't brought up, because you brought up the chicken, which was my least favorite part of this.
Well, you could have brought up the chicken coming back.
No, because all the scenes with the chicken I hate equally. It's just the whole concept of the chicken I hate.
Oh gosh, this outfit. Oh god. Do you want to see still image of this sucker?
No, final thoughts. Come on, guys. We're at time already, so let's not get distracted.
Well, past time already, but...
No, we started 15 after. It's 15 after. We're at time. So, final thoughts, guys. Tim.
This was a great Saturday morning B movie serial type that was sprinkled with moments of like British sitcom things that were nice punctuations, I think. So I really enjoyed this episode a lot.
All right, Matt?
The ideas were interesting. The execution was sadly flawed when it came to some of the key elements. But for that, a lot of the rest of it was still relatively well done, even if it was hokey at times.
All right. Let's see. Thomas said, as my previous thoughts show, I felt the serial was really hindered by the Atlantis stuff mostly. There's very little in that entire section that holds up. Everything around is at least serviceable or good, but it's a weird shift that didn't go well and totally took me out of the experience. Unless you're a diehard Whovian, you can easily skip this one or just skim through the Atlantis stuff. All right. So, Bill.
I'm gonna say I really like this story. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I kind of, from its reputation, was expecting this dreadful slog, and I found myself really enjoying the vast majority of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Aaron?
I did enjoy this one too. It wasn't too bad. I enjoyed the Atlantean parts. I did like the minor characters as well as the main characters were all pretty well written. So I would say, yeah, go ahead and see this.
All right. Let's see. My opinion is the fact that this was well written and was well done pretty much up until the point that the actual time monster appears. Then it kind of goes downhill. I do agree that it does lose a little momentum during the Atlantean arc. It does feel like it starts dragging its heels a little. And could have been tidied up there a little bit. And, but I think it resolved well. And for the most part, done pretty well. I would say it's above average, but I'm not sure by how much yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, scores. Tim, you are first.
I will give this 4.5 stars.
All right.
Very generous.
Matt.
Oh, I'm kind of fighting between, I think, the ranking I gave last week and maybe upping it.
Last week you gave a 3.
I'm trying to remember. Last week was
Sea Devils.
Sea Devils.
Sea Devil. Before that was Damon's with a 4.5.
And last week I gave a flat 3.
Yep.
Yeah, this is at least a 3.5.
And that your score?
Yeah.
Okay, 3.5 from Matt. Thomas gives it a 3.0 and says some of the better parts stop me from rating it lower.
Mm-hmm.
So, bit of visceral from Thomas there. Okay, that's Thomas's score. Bill.
I'm gonna say 4.0.
Bill gives it a 4. Aaron.
I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4 as well.
We are all over the goddamn place. 2 3s.
There's no 5s or 2s yet.
No.
I'm trying to be more selective with my 5s from now on.
Thank you for that, Tim.
Yeah, 5 has to be a masterpiece. It has to be a perfect work for me to give it.
Yeah, it has to be something that you would recommend to anyone who's new to it. Essentially, This is pinnacle stuff.
Has to be flawless or damn close to flawless to make no difference. And I'm going to give this a 3.5. Like I said, it's above average, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm very close between the 3.5 and the 4, and it's just like,
yeah, that's kind of where I was.
I guess it's more of a 3.5. It's definitely better than last week's, but I'm not sure it's quite 4 level.
And that is going to give us a grand total of 3.75.
Almost good. Above average, almost good.
Above average, almost good, and that will rank us. Give me just a moment. Like I said, I would do this ahead of time if I could, but I can't. Okay. 3.75 puts us at 126 out of 223. So,
just
barely,
above the half.
Just below the half, actually.
23 compared to 226?
Half would be 111. And this is 126.
Oh, actually, you're right. Yeah, it's just below the half. Oh.
Just below the half.
Oh, shucks.
It is on par with Power of the Daleks, Extremis, Pyramid at the End of the World, Lie of the Land, Robot of Sherwood, Red House, Day of the Daleks, End of the World, Invasion Earth 2150, Girl in the Fireplace, Enemy of the World, Ghostlight and Boomtown.
I think I would rate 2150 higher than this.
Flatline, The Moon Base, The Daleks, The Innocent, The Destroyer of Delights, Smile, Claws of Axos, and not quite as good as the Jago and Lightfoot Revival, Gardens of the Dead, The Chase, The Next Doctor, Monster of Peladon, and Blink. Still surprised Blink gets so low a score, but some of us didn't like it. So there you go, 126 out of 223, The Time Monster.
Okay. If you enjoy listening to us, please go ahead and subscribe at twitch.tv/unearthlypodcast and an Unearthly Podcast on YouTube to continue seeing our new streams and uploads. You can also follow us on facebook.com/unearthlypodcast and twitter.com/unearthlypod for news and updates, or join our Facebook group. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast and do so there.
All right, and on next week's show, since we are now officially finished with all of the Delgado Master episodes and all of the Third Doctor Master episodes, we will go onward to the Fourth Doctor and his first of two encounters with the Master, when he is called back to Gallifrey to attend the coronation of a new president. But something goes wrong, because the president has an unfortunate appointment with the Deadly Assassin, written by Robert Holmes and starring Tom Baker as the Doctor and Peter Pratt as the Master. See you next week.
The Rubber-Faced Master. Good night.
Night night.